Hello and welcome back to Alright Guns. Today we're taking a look at Magnums. Yes, today we're taking a look at Magnum cartridges. We're going to have a look at all the different sizes you can get, what you can use them for, and then we're going to do a test and see if the recoil's really as bad as everyone makes out. If you shoot Magnums, please let me know in the comments what you're using and what you're using them for. Firstly, the word magnum, so Latin for great, and it's been used quite a lot to describe anything that's larger than normal. For example, Magnum wine bottles, which take twice as much as a normal one. In firearms terms, the first cartridge that was launched that carried the name Magnum was the 375 Magnum in 1935, and this was just a larger and more powerful version of the 38 Special. That said, the first example of a Magnum shotgun cartridge came a little bit before this, in 1932, where the 10 bore was released in a 3.5 inch case, which was normally a 2 7/8. Moving into modern day, so starting with the 10 bore, these are really rare, especially here in the UK. And now most of them are available in a 3.5 inch case, which, although being a Magnum, has now become the standard. In 12 gauge, over the normal 2 3/4 inch case, you've got 3 inch and 3.5 inch Magnums. In 20 and 28 bore, you do have a 3 inch case over the normal 2 3/4 inch, but these are exceptionally rare, especially here in the UK, where I can't find any available at all. Now, finally, 410. This is definitely a case where Magnums are available. Normally you get these in 2 and 2.5 inch case lengths, and then the Magnums come in 3. Today we're going to focus around the 12 gauge, as this is what most people use when they're talking about Magnums. So let's take a look at some. Here we can see a 2.5 inch for scale. They're moving up to the 2 3/4 inch, which is pretty much the standard nowadays, and then finally going into 3 inch and then 3.5 inch. It's worth mentioning that case length is measured as the overall case length once it's been shot, not as when it's crimped. And for example, here's a fired 3.5 inch. Now we've got reviews coming out for the Live Ale Max Steel and for the Game Bore Mammoth Magnums, so if you'd like to see those, please subscribe. Now I want to give you something to relate to understand loads. In lead shot we typically see loads in 50 grams for the 3 inch and 63 grams for the 3.5 inch. That means the 3 inch Magnum is kicking out just over twice the volume of shot as the two 24 gram clay loads. And as for the 3.5 inch, that's kicking out the equivalent of 3 21 gram clay loads or 2 32 gram game loads. Now here's a good point to bring up chamber length. So your gun will have on there a chamber length, usually in the proof marks, and this will be the largest cartridge your gun can take. Most modern guns are chambered in 3 inch, with a few exceptions in specific trap discipline guns. What you need to do though is be careful with older guns, especially old side-by-sides, where the chamber lengths can be 2.5 inch and really cause you some problems. If you do want to shoot the big 3.5 inch cartridges, you're going to have to go up to something really specific, like this Benelli Supernova, which is chambered to take those 3.5 inches. In addition to chamber length, it's really important to understand what pressure your gun was proofed to, as some cartridges, especially steel ones, can give pressures in excess of what would be normal. In the UK, these are the markings to look out for, at least the current ones. So CIP-N is for standard proofing, CIP-S is for superior, and then CIP with the fleur-de-lis symbol is for steel shot. The cartridges you buy should correspond to these markings. It's worth noting though that these are the current proof marks, and in the UK various different proof marks were used historically, so you might need to do a bit of research to look those up. In addition to that, elsewhere in the world they definitely have different proof marks, so yeah, it takes a bit of research to understand what your gun can take. So why use a Magnum? From what I've researched and discovered, they don't give any more range than normal. They're still moving at the same velocities, and they don't particularly increase the spread of shot. What they do, however, is increase the density of shot, so you're getting more pellets on target than in a standard load. This is because you're increasing the amount of shots in the shot column rather than increasing the bore diameter of the gun. This denser pattern makes them especially good for larger species such as geese. Now most Magnums you find in the UK will be in steel, and that's because of our laws surrounding shooting over wetland, and that's what most people use them for, is for geese. Lead Magnums in the UK are really rare, and they are very limited in what you can do with them. Although you can shoot deer with AAA loads, it's really not something people tend to do. So what you're left with after that is really foxes, and what some people I know do is to shoot squirrel drays out of trees. Elsewhere in the world, I've seen magnums used for shooting turkeys and even for boar shooting. In terms of shot size, I don't think I've seen a magnum with anything less than a 4-shot, and that's because their intended purpose is large game. On the other end of the scale, I've seen them go all the way up to BB size shot. Now, I've seen a lot of videos of people complaining about the recoil from magnums, and it certainly makes sense. What you're doing is pushing a much heavier load out, which is going to result in more recoil. But I wanted to find out myself, so we're going to take some of these out to Millride Country Sports and give them a test. Before we do that, quick thank you to Shooting Sports UK for their ongoing support of the channel. Please go and look them up and see what they can do for you. Okay, let's get some shot. So we're here at Millride Country Sports, just outside of Wolverhampton, and we're going to try these magnums out. We're going to start off with the steel shot 3-inch. They kick, but not too bad. Then we're going to try the lead 3-inch. A little bit more. And now the 3.5-inch steels. A little bit more. Let's try again. Not something I'd want to do all day. Let's try the 3.5-inch lead. So, after shooting them, I'm a little bit more enlightened. The 3-inch cartridges kick a little bit, but not too excessively. The 3.5-inch, however, yeah, there's definitely some recoil in there. But when you factor in that people aren't going to be shooting a huge amount of them in a day, perhaps 3 or 5, it's really not that bad. And on what we shot today, the recoil wasn't painful at all, and it wasn't a problem for me. However, if you're recoil sensitive using standard size cartridges, magnums definitely aren't for you. What was interesting is that there's definitely a difference between the steel and the lead, and that's due to the actual weight of the shot that the gun's pushing out. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.